me this morning. It is day 2 of how to get it done, the important things, final day of the training. And today we're going to be talking about, we're going to dive into actually the actual profit plan, like what's going to make you money, what's going to sustain your business. Yesterday, just as a quick review, we talked about identifying your pain points. What are those nagging things that just keep you up at night, that make you worried, anxious, those kinds of things? What are those big results that you want to achieve in your business? Just identifying pain points. We talked about core values. We talked about the purpose and how those things are truly fundamental when you're talking about making a plan for achieving these audacious results that you want to see in your business as well too. We also talked about your superpowers. Everyone has them. What are those things that utilize your highest and best use of your time? How to thrive in your zone of genius, and what that actually means as far as eliminating distractions and doing what you do best. Because if you're a business owner, if you're a solopreneur like I am, we've got to focus in on what we do best in order to achieve the big things that we want to achieve. But today, again, we're going to be talking about your profit plan and what you need to do to make sure that that happens in your business. But just 2 quick things. First of all, I did develop a workbook for this training. You can grab it on my Facebook group, the Get It Done Facebook group, or just send me a DM or whatever, and I'll be happy to email it to you as well too. And secondly, I've been telling everybody about this, but so excited to be featured in a huge online publication called Leaders in Heels. I had a blog post called 3 Ways You Can Become a Velvet Hammer Leader, and I'll link that in the comments as well too, just because I'm excited that it's out there in the world for everybody to see. But today, again, we're going to be talking about how to get it done and to actually make a plan for those goals. And I am going to share my screen with you so we can kind of dive into this presentation. And then I'm going to, wrong button. There we go. Okay, we're kicking, we're live. All right, we're going to start off with another really great quote. Conquering audacious goals means that you have got to have a plan, you guys. As Yogi Berra once said, and I use this quote all the time in so many presentations, if you don't know where you're going, you will absolutely end up somewhere else, right? Okay, so we're going to be talking about pre-planning just for a quick minute here. Before you dive into planning out any goal, it's important to think about and consider a few questions. And I've got these 8 questions listed here. It doesn't matter if you're working with a team or you're working on your own, doesn't matter at all. These questions that I'm going to cover here are so good to get you thinking about where you want to go. What does that end result look like for you? And I really do encourage you, take a look at these questions and be thoughtful about it as well too. If you're working with a team, there's a few items I'd like for you to cover before you meet with that team. I've worked with countless groups over the years, and I've learned it is so much easier to get your team on board and get them ready to sit down and have a rich, meaningful discussion if you've planned, if they have some skin in the game as well too, right? About a week or 2 before a big planning meeting, this is something that I always do. I'll send out a survey on SurveyMonkey or Google Forms or whatever and ask these questions. As with most teams, you'll find that some people don't really like to talk in big groups, and then you have those people who really like to have their voice heard and just won't let anybody else have a voice at the table either. At the end of the day, everyone on your team, their voice matters. And I say this a lot to my clients too. Everyone wants to be heard. Everyone wants to be appreciated. And I tell you what, guys, it's your job as the leader to make sure that those voices are heard, okay? So also the feedback that you'll receive from the survey will help formulate your agenda and those things, the results that you want to see. Your people will tell you what they think is achievable. They'll also tell you if you're full of crap as well too. So let's take a few minutes and go over some of these questions that you see here on the screen. Excuse me. Number 1, I want you to ask each member of your team to jot down their 2 to 3 priority areas. What's important to them? Number 2, ask your team what they think is working well right now and what could be improved. Number 3, ask your team, where do they see the organization in 5 years and 10 years and 20 years? This is kind of one of those blue sky type questions questions. How much staff will be employed? Will your business be based in different states? What do those product lines look like? Will you have one CEO or multiple leaders? I mean, just all of those different kinds of questions. Where do they see this organization growing is essentially the question that you're asking. Why does your business exist? Gosh, I think this is so important to ask your people, because what you think might be the reason why you exist might be a little bit different than what they think as well too. So be sure to ask those questions. What's your purpose? It cannot be all about the money. Money is just an outcome. It's not a purpose. Big question to ask here too. Number 6, how do you feel about the current culture in the office? What's good and bad about it? And I'm just going to tell you this much. I have consulted with several CEO level people over the years, and specifically this past year as well too. I have found that CEOs, C-suite level people, they truly want the best for their teams, but some people, especially lower down the food chain, so to speak, are reluctant to really give their honest feedback. That's why this survey, this Google form that you need to do a couple of weeks before a big meeting is so critically important. You need to hear from your people that are some of your entry-level people, your beginner-level people. You need to hear where they are in their process and what do they think the culture of the organization looks like as well. Because I can guarantee you that what you think is the culture might be different than what they think is the culture. So be sure to ask those questions. Let's see, what else do we have? Number 7, if you could choose just one measure that would have the most impact on your business, what would that look like for them? And number 8, what is preventing success? What activities do you need to be doing to actually move that needle to achieve success? Okay, so these are really, really great questions. I want you to jot these down. And I'm going to have this recorded video. Be sure to pause it, write them down. I'm telling you, this will get people talking. If you do the Google form, if you do the Survey Monkey, I'm telling you, people will tell you what you need to hear. Okay, so we're going to make a plan. Some of you have likely seen this before. In fact, I know you have SMART goal planning. But this 5-step approach is the most basic, simple way to go about approaching not only how to plan your goals, but to ensure you can actually achieve the goal as well too. And we're going to quickly go through this. This could be an hour-long conversation in and of itself, but I'm going to quickly flow through this. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to look back at the beginning. And if you're joining me on just today, I want you to think about your one big pain point, your one big result that you want to see in your organization or business. And I want you to write that down. Okay, what is that one thing? Not a million things, but just what is that one problem that needs to be solved? Okay, I need for you to define it in very specific terms about what that goal needs to look like in order to tackle your one big thing. So I want to give you an example of what not to do, okay? Because sometimes if I tell you what not to do really does exemplify what you need to do, all right? An example of a goal that is not specific is this. I'm going to launch a new website. That's vague, ambiguous, and all it tells me is that that's something that you want to do. A specific goal might look something like this. I will launch a coaching website that allows potential clients to educate themselves on my programs, learn about me, and includes a call to action for a complimentary strategy session. Okay, that's pretty specific. Then I want you to measure the goal. You will never know if your plan is working if you can't find a way to quantify it, all right? So if you're launching this new website, how much traffic do you want? How will you quantify the success of the new website? One example of a measurement goal might be, for this website launch, is to increase website traffic by 25%. So if your prior website traffic was, say, around 1,000 views a month, that new goal would be to increase your traffic to 1,250 views per month. All right, are you tracking me? Take a minute and think about just one measurement for your goal. How will you know if you're going to be successful? It is really, 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 really important to quantify it and jot that down. Okay, next, you must keep your goals actionable and achievable too. This is where the rubber meets the road, you guys. Setting outlandish goals It absolutely wastes time. It just does. If you have a goal that is so far away from being actually achievable, it's not going to motivate anyone on your team to actually want to do the work because they know it's not achievable. So I want you to think about posing questions that answer the how of making a plan and setting the goal, right? How can you accomplish it? What steps are needed in order to achieve that goal? And I want you to stop, and you need to be realistic here too. If you're working with a team, you need to ask them what's achievable. You just can't be the one thinking about, oh, this is what we can do. You need to ask your team if you have a team. I urge you to not look at industry benchmarks as well too, but rather what's realistic for you and your business or organization. And I'm telling you, this is super important. We all get caught up in, the compare and despair is what I call it, right? Looking at other people in the same industry and going, ooh, I want what they have. And ooh, how do I get what they have? And I'm telling you that can be a really, really sticky wicket, if you will. I really urge you to think about what is realistic for you, your organization. If you're a solopreneur and it's all on you, well, then you need to be aware. Again, going back to self-awareness, we talked about this yesterday as well too, but be aware of what you can actually achieve. Don't set outlandish goals or you're constantly going to be in this state of just disappointment. And you don't want that. That's not gonna motivate you to want to keep going, right? Okay, let's look at the website launch example that I've been talking about here recently. Say your organization launches a new website and you've set the measurement for increasing traffic by 25%. Okay, again, your current traffic is around 1,000 views a month and you want to move that to 1,250 views a month. Okay, questions that you may want to ask your team might be something like this. What are the strategies that we can put in place to actually increase that traffic? Should we plan to launch on social media and put some money behind a few promoted posts to get people to look at our website? What about an email marketing campaign? Your team's discussion should absolutely center around those activities that are actionable and achievable that will actually help you achieve that 25% increase in website traffic, all right? What you may discover is that 25% increase is too easy of a goal. And you may want to increase that number, that quantifiable measurement, all right? Or if you don't have the people in place to develop a marketing campaign, or maybe it's just you and you just don't have the time to do all of that, maybe you need to scale back that number to 10%. I don't know. You get the gist. Be thoughtful about how you're going about achieving those goals, okay? The next step is looking at your goal and the actionable steps you've lined out and ask yourself one big question. Is this relevant to the overall vision of where I see my business going, all right? Let's look at that website launch example that I've been talking about. Does it make sense to increase website traffic by 25%? What is the website offering that would encourage people to visit more often? Do you want to increase your email subscriber base? How do you want to communicate with those new subscribers? If you don't have a plan to keep subscribers engaged for the long term, then why are you increasing your traffic? In other words, that 25% may not be relevant if you don't have a plan for future engagement, all right? So finally, let's talk about timeliness, developing a timeline for achieving those goals. Every goal needs to have some sort of target date for completion, all right? That being said, and I'm a huge believer in this, any plan, absolutely 100% must be flexible because sometimes things happen to throw you off course. I don't know, like a sick kid or a global pandemic. I mean, I think we've all had plenty of things that have thrown us off course this year. You've got to balance a few things here though. In order to keep your goal a priority, you must identify timeframes and set some deadlines as well too. But be mindful that if you're constantly moving that target date, you're signaling to your team that it's not really a priority. So you really do need to balance this and be very thoughtful about those deadlines and timelines and not move it too often as well. So I want to go back to the website launch example. You do not want to say, we will launch a website sometime soon. You do want to say, we're going to launch this website by August 1st. Furthermore, you want to determine some checkpoints along the way as well too. So maybe you set your website copy deadline for May 1st, and the beta website will be available to preview by June 1st, and second round of revisions by July 1st. I mean, you get the gist, but just kind of have some checkpoints along the way to make sure that you're actually on track to be able to achieve the deadline, the timeline that you want. Okay. So, gosh, I know that was super quick, but I hope that's helpful for you guys. Now, let's talk about, is the plan working? I've got just 3 questions that you need to be asking yourself, and I urge you to do this on a very consistent, regular basis. The only way to really know if your plan is working or not is to evaluate it. Plain and simple. You've got to evaluate it, and you've got to do this regularly and consistently. Depending on what type of plan that you have developed, regular may mean once a month, or it might mean a few times a week. It just totally depends on what it is. What is your one big pain point? What is that one result that you want to see? Totally up to you, but you have got to do this in order to achieve these massive results that I know that you want to achieve. So evaluating your plan is not a hard process, I promise. There are 3 questions that you need to ask yourself. Okay, and you see this on the slide below. Number 1, what happened? Take a look at the measurements or data that you've collected. What does it tell you? Let's take a look at that website launch example again. If the goal was to increase website traffic by 25% and you only had an increase of 10%, what might those factors be that are affecting those numbers? Okay, could it be that you should have spent more on advertising and promoting to promote that to your existing customer base? Could it be that the content wasn't compelling enough for people to open it? Get serious about what those numbers mean, so you can either revise your strategy, so you can revise that strategy. Okay. Number 2, why did it happen? As I mentioned, break down the cause and effect factors regarding those measurements. It's important to dive into the details and figure out why things worked or why they didn't work, okay? If you blew your numbers out of the water, were you too conservative in the first place? I do believe that there's such a thing as beginner's luck, but luck also happens when you've made good decisions and worked hard too, for that matter, right? Okay, number 3, why do the results matter and what's next? This question is such a simple one, so don't blow this out of proportion here. Do your results reflect what you wanted to achieve? Plain and simple. Do they reflect what you wanted to achieve? Are you collecting the right information that will help you determine that you've accomplished what you've set out to do? What do you need to do differently? What do you need to do differently in order to see the results that you expected? If you've totally crushed those results, what do you need to do differently to continue to see bigger results? Okay, so is the plan working? Just ask these 3 questions. What happened? Why did it happen? And what's next for you? All right. Okay, we're going to talk about rinse and repeat just real quick, because I've seen this term used a gajillion times online, and I don't know if people really understand what that concept means. So I'm just going to dissect this down for you a little bit. This is what I mean. How can you take things that are working in your plan and systemize it? In other words, how can you repeat that process over and over again and see the same results? Okay, I am all about automation and streamlining processes and making things a habit. All right. Why is that important? Why is it important to systemize and streamline? Well, I tell you what, research indicates that 45% of our activities in any given day are performed automatically without giving much thought. This applies to how we go about to performing certain functions and operations within our business as well too. And the incredible thing that will absolutely happen when you start to develop your rinse and repeat processes is that you free up time to work actually on your business versus in your business. Okay. Developing content, developing marketing strategies, developing the things that will actually sell your business versus trying to figure out, okay, why did that system not work? This thing isn't working. People probably, you want to work on your business versus in it. Let me give an example. I'm a huge believer in templates and automating processes. I have a template that I use for my blog post. I realize that this is a simple thing, but hear me out. When I go to copy and paste my blog, I pull up the template and boom, copy, paste, done. I've batched my blogging work, and I only do it about once a month too, for that matter. So, this process for pushing out blog posts for an entire month maybe takes me 20 minutes to do, because I've got a template and I've got a process for it, and it's boom, it's done. Each month, I pull out my marketing plan and I review it. What's working, what isn't. If a process I've identified is actually working, why, and how can I replicate that process to keep it all working? Another example of this is how I keep a system for my social media posts as well too. Sure, I organically push out posts a lot during the week. However, once a month, I use my social media posting system to schedule my post automatically. So again, I just don't have to think about it. If I want to push out something organically, I can, but I know that I'm going to be consistently having posts pushed out there. Another example is how I intake my one-to-one clients. I literally have a checklist that I use when I'm talking to someone new for two reasons. Number one, see if they're a good fit for me. And number two, see if I'm a good fit for them. I've used this checklist many times at this point and have refined it to the point where I really do feel confident that the people I talk to are probably going to be good for me. It's yielding the right result, okay? Rinse and repeat only happens, though, if you're evaluating your plan. However, I want you to think about those items in your plan that are working for you. Why is it working? Can you quickly identify the reasons why it's working? I want you to write it down. Let's go back to the website example that I've been talking about here. If the reason for the spike in the website hits is because I've read the analytics and found out people are visiting my site from a Facebook ad, then maybe my social media marketing is working, okay? I know that the use of Facebook ads have helped me achieve my goal of 25% increase in website traffic. In other words, the use of Facebook ads is a process that can be repeated. Okay, I hope that makes sense to you. Okay, you guys, this kind of wraps it up. Oh my gosh, we got done in like 20 minutes. This is awesome. Okay, so how you can contact me. I sure hope this information has been valuable and helpful for you. Again, I'm going to download these videos and I'll make them available on both Facebook and LinkedIn, and they'll also be on my website as well too. If you have any questions or just want to bounce around some ideas or whatnot, contact me. I'd love to hear from you. You can reach me by email at heather@heatherlyle.com. You can see you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Heather Lyle Co. My phone number is down there as well too. So, and hey, if you're in the Dallas area where I am, I've been cautious about it, but safely meeting for coffee, I'm all over that. I do have some openings in January to take on a few one-to-one clients. So if you'd like to work with me, reach out. I'd love to talk with you to see if it'll be a good fit for the both of us. I want you all to have a wonderful holiday season, and I look forward to seeing you on the next training. All right. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you guys soon.